All right, it is time for On the Rise to chat with our next guest. Today's guest is the fantastic Kue Varo from Kue Varo and the Only Hopes. You have heard her on the air before. Just interviewed her a few weeks ago. I just had to bring her back. Kue, how are you? Thanks for joining me today.
Super fantastic.
Super fantastic. That makes me so happy. Your album, Cowboy Witchcraft, has just been climbing up the charts. It's been doing well. It's been released now for a few weeks, almost a month. Is that right?
Yeah, October 13th, so just a little over a month, I think.
How has the response been? What have you noticed now that your little musical baby is out in the world?
Initially, slow to start, but that's usually how I roll with things. And then we tend to run. That's what sort of that I mean it reflects the micro and the macro are all connected. If that makes sense. I think it's funny. You release something in the world and I think sometimes it represents like how you operate as a person. But it's such a diverse album in terms of genre and sound. Like I think it's interesting for me to hear what the track is that resonates with them the most because it's different like all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and I
Mm-hmm.
think that's great. Like I'm really proud of that aspect of it. I think it's cool to be able to connect with people on like lots of different levels.
Definitely, definitely. And it's beautiful to know that something that you've created is stirring people in different ways.
Yeah.
You have a great review in Exclaim magazine. What was that like, sort of reading those words about your work?
You know, the funniest thing about it was how positive they like reviewed it in terms of its mood
Yes,
as
yeah.
like such an airy, light, positive. The band and I discussed, as difficult as the topics can be, we generally try to spin it in a positive direction towards the end
Mm-hmm.
or have some kind of like a feeling of you can get through it.
Yeah.
Because some of the songs were born from extremely difficult times in life.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really beautiful to hear that it has that positive, airy mood to it. I think that speaks testament to how far our lives have come since all knowing each other and collaborating with each other, and how, yeah, if you're in a bad spot, change can happen so fast. Just roll with the change. Sometimes it's good. Don't,
Yeah.
try to back away from it.
Oh, those are good words. Do you feel like that is your kind of your outlook on life? Is that sort of how you live your life or try to live your life?
I think the philosophy is sort of I take on life is like seasons. I think
Hmm.
there's a season for creation, preservation, and destruction. And destruction usually is when change occurs. And that's when you gain new perspective to create something different than what you've created before, which is more interesting than, just sort of doing the same thing, I think at least.
Yes. Yeah.
um, yeah, trying not to be resistant to that. Life is just sort of a series of seasons that seem to roll cyclically.
Ooh. I mean, rewind. Life is just seasons that roll cyclically. That is
Yeah.
deep wisdom and so true. And I feel like when we look at the world around us, mostly nature is telling us how to live. And if we just listen and watch.
Fully agree with that. Yep.
Yeah. Well, Q, the reason I wanted to talk to you today was because I wanted to tell you in real time that your album, Cowboy Witchcraft, is the number one album on CKUA's Top 30 countdown this week. Yeah.
Like, what do you even say to that? Long road of musicianship to hit a spot in a radio station that's so dear to my heart. Like, grew up listening to CKUA. Yeah, I don't even. There's tears. There will be tears. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
You are so welcome and you work so hard. Your album is fantastic. It's beautiful. It's catchy and hooky and great, but also has a very potent message. And I'm not surprised because you are full of wisdom. Before I let you go, I'd love to play a song from Cowboy Witchcraft. Can you pick one and tell our listeners a little bit about it?
You know what? I'm gonna choose Good Days Ahead.
Ah,
It's not the pop hit. It's a it's a poem. It's really just a poem to beautiful guitar work that made me cry the first time I ever heard it. That's why the song was born. And about it, it's just a series of metaphors about real things that happened when I decided to roll with the changes. That's the song. And a feeling of good days
beautiful.
coming ahead, which they have. Look at us now, number one. Thank you so
Look at
much.
you. Yes.
These are some of those good days.
Amen. Amen. Yes. Oh, I love it. Okay. Well, from the album Cowboy Witchcraft, Kue Varo and The Only Hopes, this is Good Days Ahead, the number one album on CKUA's Top 30 chart.